Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's Ben Buckner and Dan Basse back with you on Monday, June 2nd. Looking at grain markets that are higher, at least in the corn and wheat, slightly lower in soybeans. The wheat market is gaining a little bit of attention as there's some dry pockets in portions of the Canadian prairies, Europe, and even the Black Sea. So that's got a little bit of short covering. The index roll starts later this week. And so we do have a rather big position in terms of some of these markets on the short side, in particular wheat, which has got a little bit of bounce here today. Corn's kind of following along, and then we're all kind of waiting to see what the crush report, this would be, of course, for soybeans, shows us for soybean oil stocks later today. Ben, any comments from you, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, not a whole lot to kind of sink your teeth into this morning, I think. So just kind of run through the world in terms of weather patterns, and yeah, there are some issues. And I think wheat's found some life this morning. It's hard to separate whether there's a real growing threat to future wheat supplies, or we're just starting from a very low price, and we can all kind of see the fund short position globally hasn't really budged. There's been no reason for funds to cover that, but it's still close to about 200,000 contracts in the Chicago and Kansas City combined. So that's the market that's ripe for short covering if there is some kind of disruption here. Otherwise, like I mentioned, July soybeans below its 50-day moving average for the first time, in almost 6 or 7 weeks. And so chart patterns don't look terribly robust this morning. We'll see how the market handles the first half of this week and looks at crush data, crush margins. Still struggling for biofuel guidance. I think that's the key to crush margins moving forward. Soybean meal probably stuck at about these prices for the foreseeable future. So it's oil that changes, the value of soybeans on the margin to us. Otherwise, it's two-sided here. The U.S. forecast outright wet. I think now, if this verifies, NOAA's 7-day forecast, we're not concerned about drought now until maybe the very end of June, July 1st, based on crop water demands. So it does look very wet. But on the other side, we do have to contend with, I think, at least, the lack of sustained sunny days. So we'll just kind of see how cloudy it does get and how much rain does fall. But winter wheat harvesting, I think, is at least a timing issue or a developing one. So we're not supposed to be harvesting any wheat in Kansas this week, maybe not next week, but you can see by about the second half of June, we are typically 30, 40, sometimes half harvested in Kansas. It's early to say that won't happen, but I think for the next 10 days, very little gets done across the southern and central plains in terms of wheat harvesting, quality issues, et cetera. I think that's something the market will have to assess. And also one of the developing issues, for now, we'll take this week by week, but Canada has been kind of a hot spot. This shows, May 1st to June 11th, % of normal rainfall, assumes the 10-day forecast is correct. Not a lot of rain in the forecast, warming temperatures, been mostly dry since winter. So it's, it's something, I don't know if we can call these alarm bells ringing, but something that we'll have to watch. And I think what's important, it's a smallish market, but we have seen the world the last 2 years really rely upon this high protein Canadian supply. I mean, it's the one country that has been exporting wheat like gangbusters the last couple of years. So kind of entertaining that, how it fits into the grand scheme of things in the world wheat market. And China as well, just, it's getting late in the winter wheat crop season there, but just can't shake dryness. And really about 70 or 80% of the winter wheat belt, where it's driest is where winter wheat is most heavily concentrated. So again, I think wheat at a very low price, funds very short, and maybe not all as well with world weather patterns. We don't see huge threats to global production, but maybe there are enough to, at least give value to wheat below 530 or so Chicago. But we do want to, mention, in the background and context, the European Black Sea. We don't see much issue here. This is where the USDA is projecting about a 15 million ton increase in wheat production. We think that's about correct with what we know today. So there is going to be probably adequate physical supplies of wheat, come, 45, 60 days from now. So that's kind of where we are in the markets. I think we're just kind of struggling to find something to sink your teeth into. Some weather issues, maybe not glaring for the markets, but we are searching for new input. And I think that probably will be the dominant theme, at least today, first half of this week. So Dan, what you got?
No, thank you for that, Ben. I would agree with you on wheat. It's awful hard to chase a weather rally here ahead of harvest. I just on winter wheat harvest, it's just tough. So maybe December can make it up to $5.90 or $6. This is Chicago futures, but I don't think higher than that. Maybe December corn can push up to maybe, I don't know, 440, 445 or 450, but those would be opportunities to sell unless there's a serious weather problem. We got to have a weather problem in the United States. So we got to make progress on the U.S.-China trade deal, Ben, to have lasting or sustainable markets. And I'm just not seeing a weather problem in the United States. As you said, it's pretty wet. It's a greenhouse, if you will, and we'll kind of go from there. Any closing comments from you?
I don't think so. No, again, we're going to be, I think, this week spending some time on, again, framework for the forward market. What does June weather mean for the United States? Is there anything to glean from that? So, again, a dollar gets you in for 30 days. Lots of good research coming about, new crop supply and demand. So be sure to check that out. Otherwise, all the best in the market today.
Good luck, everyone. Have a good Monday. Bye-bye.